and cared for these lands and are deeply connected to them still. So we offer this as a gesture of appreciation and respect. I note that Trustee Elder is joining us virtually on the monitors this evening. And I wish to welcome members of the management team who are with us as well. Superintendent Everlyn, Secretary Treasurer Reed, Assistant Superintendent Pass, Assistant Superintendent Westaver, Director of Instruction Tucker, and Senior Executive Administrator Clancy. I also wish to introduce members of our partners who are representing their organizations this evening. From the Saanich Administrators Association, Principal Sarah Salmick, welcome, Sarah. From COPAX across the way, Megan Mizovic, welcome, Megan. We have regrets from Shannon Toronitz, the President of the Saanich Teachers Association, who cannot be with us this evening. And we don't appear to have anyone from QP 441 at this time. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Trustee Hickman, move. Trustee Badwell, second. Are there any revisions, late items, or proposed changes? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Thank you. We have an agenda adopted and circulated. Prior to this meeting, we held an in-camera meeting as a board to discuss personnel matters and business affairs. There's one set of minutes, trustees, to consider. Those are the regular board meeting minutes of May 13, 2026. Are there any errors or omissions that you noticed with respect to those minutes? Hearing none, I declare that the minutes of May 13, 2026 are adopted as circulated. There is business arising out of those minutes. The 2026-2027 preliminary budget bylaw for next school year. Trustee Hickman, I'll turn to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just preface this by saying there is an explanatory briefing in the package, and I will go through these four motions. I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the first reading of the annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2026-27 in the amount of $132,761,145.
Second, Trustee McMurphy. Anything further, Trustee Hickman?
No, I think the briefing notes will answer anyone's questions.
Any questions, comments, debate, trustees on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried.
I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the second reading of the annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2026-27 in the amount of $132,761,145.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. Anything arising, trustees? All in favor of the motion for second reading? Opposed? Carried.
For the third time, I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the reading of the annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2026-27 in the amount of $132,761,145 at this board meeting for the third time.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. Trustees will recall that if we're to read the bylaw for a third time, this has to be passed unanimously. Is there any discussion at this point? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Thank you.
And finally, I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the third and final reading, pass and adopt the annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2026-27 in the amount of $132,761,145.
Seconded by Trustee Murphy. Trustees, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have our budget bylaw. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Hickman. Moving then to item 5, presentations, delegations, and questions. We have no presentations this evening. We have no delegations at this meeting, but we do have an opportunity for questions from guests, public, or partners, if there are any at this time. Noting as well that there will be a second opportunity towards the end of the meeting for questions. Does anyone have a question? Ms. Missert.
Hi, thank you. I noticed in today's or yesterday's media release that the government has released a youth action plan, child and youth wellbeing action plan. And there's an opportunity to submit feedback, and it's all open to the public, so you can see all of the feedback that goes in. A number of things are coming up, even from the early submissions relating to school. So I just wondered, will there be any discussion about providing feedback to the action plan as the district or as individual packs, or is there any kind of engagement that will engage schools formally in this action plan?
Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I haven't seen the action plan. Normally, we get a weekly update at the end of the week from the Ministry of Education on opportunities for school districts to consider, and so I'll keep my eyes open for that at the end of this week and see if there's an opportunity for us to participate in some way.
If I may add to that, I think it's great to see, because I know that as a parent, I've sometimes felt frustrated with the schools because I think we're thinking that schools have to do everything. And as a government, we haven't had a comprehensive child and youth strategy. So a lot of it is hodgepodge, piecemeal, kind of navigate it yourself, figure it out, folks. And so I'm really excited if it is a comprehensive strategy, similar to what, say, Australia has as a jurisdiction. I think it's really, really needed to kind of wrap things around our families. So if there's opportunities to integrate suggestions or thoughts, I know I'll probably be doing it personally, maybe we can do facts, but just thought it was a really great thing to see that there was some kind of a plan in place that's more comprehensive than just education or childcare specifically.
Thank you. Superintendent.
I have, now that you've tweaked my memory, I have seen something recently, but we'll take a look at it in more depth. I'm sure we'll get some more direction from the Ministry of Ed.
Thank you, Ms. Any other questions, public guests, partners? Thank you. We'll move on then to item 6, which is the report from the chair. And in that vein, we're approaching the end of the school year. And this is, of course, our last regular meeting of the board. Not sure what the feelings around that are, but we're looking forward to the summer. It's critical to incorporate these intervals and opportunities for rest in our work, as it is in life generally, for it provides us all with a different perspective and an opportunity to renew and recharge, and then return somewhat grown in September. So this is accordingly an appropriate opportunity on behalf of the board for me to thank all of staff and all of our partners, the educational partners of the STA, CUPE, CUPE 941, and to thank all of my colleagues, trustees on the board, and to wish all of us a warm, relaxing, and thoroughly enjoyable summer break. I will be sending out a chair's message to the education community, or staff rather, next week, along with the superintendents, and I'll make some of these points in that as well. June also brings us graduation, transitions, and recognition ceremonies in our neighborhood secondary schools, as well as, of course, with the Individual Learning Center, the Indigenous graduation, and SIDES. And so thank you, trustees, for your for supporting these, both in attendance and as a sign in bringing greetings to the graduates of these schools from the board. This applies, of course, to all of our brick and mortar neighborhood secondary schools, as well as the individual ones that I mentioned. This isn't just altruism for trustees, because as I said recently at one of the graduations, we feed on student success. That's the reason everybody in this room and in the district does the work that they do. And so we're excited to witness the culmination of years of hard work by the students as supported by everyone in public education here in the Saanich District. On June 5, most trustees were able to attend the Saanich Teachers Association, Administrators Association retirement banquet and feat and honor 18 retiring teachers and administrators in the district. So particular thanks to STA President Taronix, who, as I indicated, cannot be here this evening, and her team for organizing what turned out to be a lovely evening, and also to Ms. Blancy for organizing the tickets for the trustees to attend that. It really was a wonderful time. Great food too. On June 11, I participated in a chairs call sponsored by BC School Trustees Association, where a number of topics were addressed. First was that the BCSTA executive and staff met recently with the Minister of Education and Child Care and other representatives of the ministry to discuss motions adopted by BCSTA at its AGM in April. And during those discussions, raised with both Minister Bear and with the opposition critic, Ms. Lynn Block, the issue of the initiatives in Ontario and other places limiting the jurisdiction and the authority of school board, and wondered how that will play in BC. I'm told that there were unequivocal and unconditional assurances by both government and opposition that trustees' work is valued, the local voice is seen as important, and there is no plan whatsoever to compromise the work of boards or trustees in British Columbia. The call also noted the Fall Academy for BC School Trustees. That'll be November 26 to 28. This time there will be a full Thursday instead of a half. So full Thursday, full Friday, half of a Saturday. The focus will be on orienting new trustees, of course, because it will follow the October 17 election. And it will focus as well on the learning workshops. It's a program that the BC School Trustees has been developing in the past months, pardon me, with a focus on governance, communication, rules, and legal processes, which the feedback has indicated are the most sought after, popular ones. And then the election itself in October was a topic as well. BC STA has a department working on that in and of itself, encouraging candidates to consider coming forward, developed a number of videos which are already being played on social media, the importance of school boards and trustees. And I've seen some of those myself. And then a number of resources in the form of guides, technical and otherwise, to assist people who choose to seek election. And then finally, the call discussed a trustee benefit plan that has been percolating in the back rooms of BC School Trustees the past month. Apparently, there have been discussions with Blue Cross. It's intended to be similar to those offered to municipal councillors for health and dental work. There are a number of requirements. A minimum of 3 members of the board will have to sign on. There's obviously a cost in terms of premiums and so forth, but perhaps the new board in the fall, if it's interested, is invited to contact BCST. On March 12, we lost a long-term district educator. Jeff Giles departed us at age 85. He immigrated from England in 1968 and joined Parkland in 1974 and taught chemistry in the district for 24 years. He was a boater and a prolific traveler, and probably few of us knew him because he retired so long ago, but he had long tenure with us as well. And so our sympathies go to his wife and his daughters and their families. And generously, his obituary suggested that one option might be a contribution to Saanich district literacy programs, if the donor was so inclined. And then finally, trustees, I wish to comment on the board development plan. Our annual work plan requires us to address the board development plan each June. And that development plan really resolves itself into the board planning day, which this year is scheduled for November 12th, which is before the first business meeting after the election. But after the election, obviously, so the trustees are available, and before the BC Provincial Academy in later November. And it's been suggested, and I propose and seek your agreement, that the planning day, the board development plan for November 12th, focus on new board orientation. And if so, that aligns with our work plan 2, which quite separately provides that in an election year, there should be proper and thorough orientation for the new board. In past terms, that has taken the form of a number of trustee 101 sessions through the fall. The suggestion is that if the board agrees this evening, we can settle this issue now. The November 12th day will focus on board orientation, congruent with the work plan. And then, of course, the details would be sorted out in September, along with the larger program of trustee sessions. And apart from that, I wish you all well and the best for the summer. I will miss you all, but we'll see you in September and hear all the holiday stories after that. So before we turn to the superintendent's report as the next agenda item, I would ask for your comments or agreement with respect to using the board development plan day for new board orientation. If there is no objection to that, then I will take it that you're agreed, but this is your opportunity to say anything about that if you. Trustee Hickman and then Trustee Elder.
Thank you, Chair. I can see the benefit in doing this. However, having gone through trustee 101, having it broken up over time and having had an opportunity to participate in the committee day and some in board meetings and get a sense of what I don't know, help for that information to be more relevant than if it had all been delivered at the beginning of my tenure before I had any personal understanding of what the processes were. But that's my only bit of feedback. Thank you.
So is that an objection, Trustee Hickman, or do you have an alternative to suggest, or what really is your position on this proposal?
I don't disagree with this. I don't know if there can be an amalgamation perhaps of the two.
Superintendent first, and then the Secretary Treasurer.
There are several opportunities for the new board to obtain information and grounding in governance and how operations work, et cetera. As the chair has pointed out, there is the ECST Academy scheduled for November. This would be a board planning day that would line up with that. The trustee 101 sessions that the board may recall typically started after the winter break. They went January, February, March. And we had a number of them that we tagged on to committee days or before board meetings or those types of opportunities when the board was already gathering together. And we lined them up in an order that seemed to make the most sense along. The board approved all of that in their conversations once elected. And so I see it as a series of events and not just one thing that happens in November and that's stop time. I would see the orientation happening over a number of months.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if the board is agreeable to using November planning date for new board orientation, then our intention would be to bring forward a board orientation plan in September for the board to review and approve. And that plan would be similar to after following the 2022 election. We at that time used the board orientation day for a session focused on board governance, focused on the policy manual, and really focusing on the things trustees needed to know right away before going into their first series of committee. And then we followed that up, as Superintendent Everyone noted, in the months following that, with several sessions focused on different areas of district programs.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. As long as it's not one versus the other, I think this.
Thank you for that. Trustee Elder, please.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support the idea of November 12th being a full day of orientation to the work of the board. We will have a number of new trustees on board. I don't know how many, but there will be some newness, but also gives the new board a chance to constitute itself as the board, as opposed to 7 individual trustees, some of whom are new and some of whom are experienced. So I'm fully in support of that idea, and also of the plan to have a number of orientation sessions. I don't love Trustee 101. I prefer something like orientation to the key work of the board. But I look forward to the plan coming in September that will lay the groundwork for that series of events that are so crucial to the new board becoming functional as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Trustee Elder. Not seeing any other hands, I will take it that there is no objection and we are in agreement to designate November 12th for Development Planning Day for new board orientation. That completes the report from the chair, and I'll turn to the superintendent, please, for his report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I always look forward to the June board meeting. It's a time for me to offer some reflections. I spent some time on my year-end blog post reflecting on things. I've sent a message out to parents earlier this week as well too. And this is my opportunity for the board and others here to talk about some things that have resonated with me this month and in the last little while. There will be a couple of themes here. You see the 2 pictures here. The bottom one represents National Indigenous History Month, and the picture above talks about inclusion and making sure everybody feels that they have a space. But before we get to that, I want to talk about something that happened back a little while ago on Wednesday, May the 27th. I happened to be out of the district that day, but there was a music showcase at Halila Park in Brentwood, where we had many of our middle and secondary schools participating in a band showcase. Stellies was represented, North Sandwich, Bayside, Claremont, and Orlo all had groups participating that day. It was a wonderful event filled with sunshine and music and festivities. It's a great time to celebrate the arts and in particular music within the Sandwich School District. Another exciting piece of news is about the gentleman in the middle with a safety vest on. That's Mr. Wayne Wickett, who was honored with the recognition of 2026 School Bus Driver of the Year for the province of British Columbia. He was nominated by the Facilities Department to the Association School Transportation Services of BC, which represent the school bus industry in BC since 1965. And I'd like to share some of the words that were shared about Wayne in his big win. And you can see Jason and I, the Secretary Treasurer, and I were congratulating him. And he had a smile that went from ear to ear that he was awarded this. He was called to the Director of Facilities office and he thought he was in trouble. And then Jason and I walked in, he thought he was really in trouble. And then we told him about the award that he had been nominated for and won. Here are some of the words that were shared with him. He consistently demonstrates exceptional student management skills on his bus. He builds strong, respectful relationships with students, sets clear expectations, and maintains a calm and positive atmosphere even during challenging situations. His professionalism and steady presence help ensure every ride is safe, orderly, and welcoming for all students. As part of his prize package, he gets an all-expense-paid trip for him and his wife to Penticton on July 6th to 9th to the Trade and Convention Center, where he will receive a plaque all his hotel and travel accommodations covered, and a $500 check for his service. He was absolutely thrilled, and I thought it was important to share this with you. He is retiring later this year, so we're losing our star bus driver, but he has agreed to stay on into the early fall for the transition to the new transportation manager and to make sure the buses get off on the right footing heading into the new school season. It was a wonderful opportunity for the Secretary Treasurer and I to congratulate. National Indigenous History Month is something that is recognized every June across the country, and our schools do an outstanding job of recognizing the importance of this event in our own community. The pictures that I'm sharing with you were all taken over the last couple of weeks in our schools. Some of them were artistic in nature and had drumming and singing involved. Some of them were artwork that was created by students in our schools. Stories around Post Salish art and other historical artifacts. It was a tremendous exhibit from our schools as to the importance of recognizing the local community and all that they have contributed to not only these lands and waters, but to the local history and the culture of the area that we live. Storytelling was an important part of this celebration and acknowledgement, along with things like cedar weaving, beading, even local Indigenous games were taught. Another important part of what we do in Saanich is recognizing the notion of inclusion and making sure that everybody feels that they have a home in our community. This is Pride Month, something that we all take enormous pride in helping to celebrate and acknowledge. Again, these pictures are taken from our schools over the last little while. This one in the middle was in the facilities department. They had these pride stickers throughout their offices.
Then this love I have inside is everything it seems.
A blast from the past. Mr. Ken Bergeron was visiting Royal Oak during their Pride celebrations. And another blast from the past, DJ Pereira in his pants at Brentwood Elementary. Students at Cordova Bay Elementary taking rainbow bumpers in the parking lot, stating that cedars stand tall together. Prospect Lake.
If I could be king, even for a day, I'd take you as my queen.
Pride parades happen at many of our sites as well too. Again, the sense of community is strong in our schools, the sense of belonging, being a part of something that's important. And everybody is recognized for their individuality and diversity that they bring to our communities. This year's Victoria Pride Parade is a week later than normal, on Sunday, July the 12th, starting at Pandora and Government Street. And I know Peter, our Assistant Superintendent, Peter Westhaver, is intimately involved in the organization of that event, and we hope to have another good turnout of staff and students there. And then just some personal reflections for me this year. Here, again, June is a time when I can sit back and think about all the great things that have happened in our district. We are in year 4 of the strategic plan. We have made some tremendous progress. This is a topic that I blogged about in my last post. where we talked about, we've made some great strides. Some of the data that we are receiving is very promising and positive. But our plan goes beyond the data. It talks about many of the intangibles, again, about that sense of belonging, that sense of community, that sense of recognizing yourself and the resources. Indigenous learner success, literacy, mental health and wellness, and global citizenship are all intimately tied together. And I couldn't be prouder of the collective efforts of all of the staff in our district. When I look out of the boardroom here and I see the canoe that was carved from a cedar tree that needed to be felled on our property here at the board office, and we look at the paddles in the canoe, for me, that analogy of everybody putting their paddles in the water and pulling in the same direction is what makes a difference. This is a community that believes in the power of unity and in being together and working towards a common goal of student success. And being able to be the superintendent in this district is extremely rewarding, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. We have 40% of our exec team is new this year, and our two new members, Director Tacker and Assistant Superintendent Pass, have made a very positive and indelible impression in their roles and throughout the district. And I just couldn't be happier with our team this year, and the laughter that we share together and the camaraderie. It is actually sometimes difficult to keep our executive team meetings going on Monday because I've lost control of the room. They are extremely boisterous and fun-loving, and we like each other, and that goes a long ways to making a difference. And I just wanted to give my thanks to every one of the exec team members, Jason, Mel, Eileen, and Peter, for their efforts and their friendship and their camaraderie in the mission that we share together. I try to stay off social media as much as I can. The geopolitical world is wild out there. And in my heart and in my head, I believe that public education plays such a pivotal role in keeping us grounded, in keeping our rudders in the water. No matter how the winds are blowing out there, public education has an important role of steering the boat in the right direction. I use that analogy again in my year-end blog. I have a sailboat and the water is off the coast of British Columbia. And that image is purposeful because I believe that we are that ship in the water, that what we're doing when we are either paddling or canoe or sailing or boat, we are in it together. And I think if we continue to stay together and continue to work together, we will ride out this geopolitical storm that is surrounding us on the world stage, and we will be better because of it. And the most important thing that happened to me this year is this guy. This is my grandson, Tatum, and I had permission from his parents to show a picture of him. He is 1 month old yesterday, and he is just a dream. And what a way to finish off the school year, having Tatum born in May. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair, and thank you for indulging me at this time.
Thank you. Trustees, is there anything arising from the superintendent's report? Trustee McMurphy.
Thanks very much for that comprehensive report. And I'm really glad you mentioned music in the park, because it was as usual wonderful stuff. We had a good day through weather, and assistant superintendent Pass and I were there, and it's a wonderful experience to see all those kids and all those instruments and all that energy and all that skill and all that cooperation. It's a public demonstration of what public schools can do and are about. So thanks to all the schools and kids and teachers that make that event happen.
Thank you for that, Trustee. Anything else before we move on, trustees?
And actually, my question was, I was just wondering why it wasn't included in school successes. I guess because it wasn't just one school, it was a whole bunch of schools.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So Trustee Elder is back. Good. Thank you. We'll move on then to school successes, Trustee McMurphy. They're in the package. Trust you've all had an opportunity to review them and appreciate them. Trustee Sills.
Thank you, Chair.
The program is now full. I'm just wondering if you know the numbers. For the international student. The report says it's full, but I didn't say.
Yeah, so we're targeting that program between 260 and 270 student FTE, and I know that we've at that target range.
Thank you. We'll move on then to committee reports. The first of which is the Education Directions Committee with the committee chair, Sylvia.
Thank you, Chair. We had our annual presentation from the student advocates, the Assistant Superintendent West Haver's team. Presentation was on building capacity and connection, mental health, wellness, and student advocacy. Assistant Superintendent West Haver and Kat Jensen gave an overview of the mental health and wellness priorities and outlined areas of strength and areas for improvement. They listed accomplishments over the last year. And then we heard from the student advocates. We always look forward to this presentation every year. So it was Adrian White and Amanda Hoffman. This year, Renato Palma was unable to attend. But Roger Young was there as our outreach coordinator. So they described in a fair amount of detail how they provide support to students in the district who are at risk of disengagement. So I encourage everyone to look at the attached document to this report on our website for the slide presentation. It's really great, great presentation. The committee has two recommendations. First, the committee recommends, and I, Trustee Silzer, move that the board approve the 2028-29 school calendar.
Just seconded by Trustee Manuel. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, thanks, Chair. So this 28-29 school calendar has been prepared in consultation with our neighboring school districts. And once we had a draft of this couple months ago, consultation with our partners in the district. There are only a couple of comments and no changes recommended by staff. So that's about it. Is there any other questions?
Trustees, any questions or comment or debate or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
The second recommendation here is the committee recommends and our trustees also move that the board approves the 2026-27 school activity and supply fee schedule.
Seconded by Trustee Vandal.
And Chair, this is essentially the same fees schedule as last year with one change to the elementary optional fees that were $5 from $50 to $55.
Thank you. Any questions or comment? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And finally, we had one item from completion, and that was with respect to the 2026-27 non-instructional and assessment schedule. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Burke.
I just like my name added to this.
We always want you there, trustee. Anything else arising from trustee Silzer's report? Thank you. We'll move on then to finance, facilities, and technology. And trustee Hickman, you're pinch hitting for trustee Elder this evening, I understand.
I am, and I am a poor second, but I'll do my best.
You know, you'll be fine.
So thank you, Chair. So there are no presentations or items discussed. We'll move directly to C, items for recommendation. The first is trustee remuneration. The committee recommends, and I, trustee Hickman, move that trustee remuneration be increased by 3% effective July 1st, 2025, and by 3% effective July 1st, 2026. Then effective November 2nd, 2026, trustee remuneration will be increased to the current average of similarly sized districts as follows. $27,838 for the chair, $25,747 for vice chair, and $24,315 for trustees.
Seconded by trustee McMurphy. Trustee Hickman.
Thank you very much, Chair. Before I speak to this motion, I wonder, Secretary Treasurer Reid, could you please remind us what the total one-time increase will be for each board position and the total overall increase?
Yes, question first. Are you referring to each of the three increases or the adjustment to the provincial average in November 2nd?
Based on the motion, the increase for the chair, the vice chair, and the trustees from what they would be earning after July 1st, 2026.
Okay, so this the adjustment after the first 3%, the second 3%, what is the difference in their compensation moving to the provincial average?
Yes.
So the increase in the compensation for the chair is $3,591. The increase in the compensation for the vice chair is $3,489. The increase in the compensation for trustee is $3,604. In total, one chair, one vice chair, and 5 trustees. In total, the total compensation increase for all 7 positions is $25,101. And then we also budget for incremental benefit costs of about 5%. That's for things like CPP and other statutory deductions. So if you add that 5%, the total compensation cost is $26,356.
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to comment on this. These amounts align with the current average for chairs, vice chairs, and trustees in peer school districts. While we cannot predict future increases in other districts, this adjustment successfully brings our compensation closer to parity. This is a continuation of an ongoing conversation. Though we've long recognized that our compensation was falling behind peer districts, we previously deferred action because the timing felt challenging and difficult amid budget balancing processes. The last time trustee compensation was right-sized was in November 2018 to coincide with the new board. Since then, only the QP increases, as per policy, have been applied. The current board scheduled a comprehensive review this year to deliberately discuss closing the gap for the incoming board this coming November. While timing and public optics are rarely ideal, updating compensation for the next term removes socioeconomic barriers and attracts a more diverse pool of candidates to local governance. Our work is just as vital as that of any other school board, and our remuneration must reflect the true value of this public service. This board has discussed this since 2023. If we don't bridge the gap now, it will only widen. For these reasons, I'm in support of this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Others, if any? Trustee Elder.
Thank you, Chair. I support the motion as we think about elections this fall. It is rarely, if ever, about remuneration. No one's looking for a job. But when people who may be interested ask about remuneration, the factual answer at this point is the remuneration for the trustee work in this school district is below the scale, not below the average, off the bottom of the scale of comparable districts in terms of size and complexity. So being able to say to potential candidates that the remuneration is at the average of those comparable districts, I think is an incentive. It provides some support for people who are considering running because they see the work of the board is valued at, comparably to other like-sized districts. The fact, of course, is that by the time November comes around, these numbers that we have in front of us will have the new board below that average because other boards will have had increases that are not reflected in these numbers. But to be able to say that this board at least attempted to move the remuneration to the average of comparable districts, I think speaks to the possibility that more people will be interested because they'll see that the community values this work at least as much as those of the work of trustees in comparable districts. So while it is hard to see any pressure on the budget, I think it's time. The last time this happened was 8 years ago. And without it being addressed over the last 8 years, it's moved remuneration below the lowest of comparable districts. And it makes sense to move it to the current average, which in the fall will actually be slightly less than the current average in the fall, but at least it's close and people might feel more inclined to see that their work would be valued in this way. But again, none of us are in this for the money. And I don't think anybody who wants to run for board would be in it for the money. It's a question of the value that is attached to the work, which is considerable. And I note that the reports in this meeting have made it clear that what trustees do goes so far beyond what people see by way of monthly meetings and so on. There's a tremendous responsibility and support in service to communities. And I think getting close to average is somewhat overdue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Elder. Others, if any? Are you ready for a question, trustees, on the motion? Motion's clear. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Yes, it was. Thank you, Trustee Hickman.
Okay, I will move on then
Yes.
to the next recommendation, which is for the 2026-27 amended capital plan bylaw. The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the first reading of capital plan bylaw number 2026/27-CPSD 63-02.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. Trustee Hickman.
I don't have anything to add to that.
Trustees? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next, the committee recommends, and I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the second reading of the capital plan bylaw number 2026/27-CPSD 63-02.
Trustee McMurphy seconds. Is there any comments, question, or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have second reading.
The next, the committee recommends, and I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve reading of capital plan bylaw number 2026/27-CPSD 63-02 at this board meeting for a third time.
And again, trustees, as noted earlier, if we're to proceed with this to the third reading tonight, we need unanimity on it. Is there any discussion? Trustee McMurphy. Oh, Trustee McMurphy seconds. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the third reading, pass and adopt capital plan bylaw number 2026/27-CPSD 63-02.
Trustee McMurphy seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We have our bylaw.
And item 3, the committee recommends, and I, Trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the capital plan submission for the let's try that again. For the 2027/28 school year.
Trustee McMurphy seconds. Any comment? Trustee Hickman is.
I know the information was submitted or circulated.
Anything from other trustees? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Hickman, particularly with the difficulties you're experiencing tonight. Trustee McMurphy.
It says capital, there's two dates there, there's number 3 says 26/27, and the motion says 27/28.
The motion says 27/28. That's correct, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So the motion.
Just a heading that's to be corrected.
Just the-
Thanks.
Thank you. The motion's correct. All right, let's move to the Policy Development Committee with Committee Chair Banwell.
Thanks, Chair. So the first item we discussed, or the item we discussed was policy 19, accumulated operating surplus. This was a new policy originally approved in November 2020. We made some revisions in 2021-22 in response to ministry direction. And then, and as part of our board review, reviewing all of the policies, this was the last one for us to look at. Staff did not have any recommendations, and so consider this one good as it is. And this completes our review of all of our policies, which we're very excited.
You're smiling broadly.
I am. So I don't know what I'm going to do in September, though. We do have a few items for recommendation. I'll start with policy 11, identification bylaw. As required, notice of motion was provided on April 22nd, 2026. I, Trustee Banwell, move that revisions to policy 11, identification bylaw, be approved.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. Trustee Banwell.
Yeah, this policy went through quite a few revisions over the last several months. Went and was reviewed by by the lawyers to make sure we wanted to add members of the indigenous education within the policy. And so it has come back, and there was no recommendations from our members. So this one to be approved, so we can.
Trustees, is there any discussion on the motion to approve the indemnification bylaw? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried at long last. Thank you.
Policy 12A, trustee elections bylaw. We recommend my Trustee Banwell move that the board appoint Secretary Treasurer Jason Reed as the Chief Election Officer and Director of Finance Megan Smiglia as the Deputy Chief Election Officer.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. Any comments? Trustee Gagnon, about this?
No, I don't.
Anybody
We
else?
need to comment.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
The committee recommended that the board adopt the elections bylaw through 3 readings at June 17th, 2026 board meeting. So the committee recommends, and I, Trustee Van, will move that the board approve the first reading of this school district 63 Saanich elections bylaw number 1004.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy.
This bylaw is, needs to be done every 4 years just before elections. And this is a template for all 4 election districts.
Anything pertaining to this, trustee? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Van, will move that the board approve the second reading of the School District 63 Saanich election bylaw number 1004.
Seconded by Trustee Murphy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Van, will move that the board approve the reading of the School District 63 Saanich elections bylaw number 1004 at this board meeting for a 3rd time.
Thank you. And as I indicated previously with respect to the other prospective bylaws, this requires unanimity for the process tonight. Seconded by Trustee McMurphy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Van, will move that the board approve the 3rd reading, pass and adopt the School District 63 Saanich elections bylaw number 1004.
Seconded by Trustee McMurphy again. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we have our elections bylaw.
All right, and we have one more policy, 18, recruitment and selection of personnel. As the required notice of motion was provided on April 22nd, 2026, I, Trustee Van, will move that revisions to policy 18, recruitment and selection of personnel be approved.
Trustee McMurphy seconds. Trustee Van.
This policy, we added just a few minor revisions. It went out to our partner groups, came back with no recommendations.
Anybody else? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
And that's it from my report.
Thank you, Trustee Van.
Thank you.
Moving then to item 14, which is reports from trustee representatives. I'm not aware of any this month. So unless I see hands waving vigorously, we'll move on to correspondence. And there is an item 1, a letter from Renee Mulligan, and I'll ask Secretary Treasurer to address that.
The correspondence in the board package relates to a busing change that was required at Prospect Lake Elementary. And this was due to a safety issue with the existing route. A bus dropping off students in the Prospect Lake region has been probably for decades, has been driving past Prospect Lake Elementary up Prospect Lake Road, and then had been turning around at an intersection, and that was recently deemed to be unsafe because we actually had an incident where a car clipped the bus. And following the investigations, Saanich police indicated that it was no longer legal for us to turn at that location. It probably was safe many years ago, but that has since become a very busy road. And that location where the bus had been turning is no longer safe to turn. And so We advised parents that we would no longer be able to drive the bus to that location and would instead have to turn the bus around at Prospect Lake Elementary, effectively shortening the route. So obviously, parents were upset by this, and we did have recommendations for alternate turning routes, which we investigated. Actually attempted to turn in our bus and were not able to successfully turn the bus around at the alternate turnaround spot recommended. And so we've had to move forward with shortening the route and turning around the bus at Prospect Lake Elementary.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, trustees? I have acknowledged receipt of a letter to Ms. Mulligan and said it would form correspondence for this meeting, but that's the extent of reply. It's largely operational, of course. And I know that there has been communication in that regard. There's nothing, trustees, further. We'll move on. Trustee Elder, thank you.
Chair, I don't want this to pass us by at the governance level without comment. It might be misinterpreted as lack of care or concern or consideration. I, for one, wish that there were something that we could do about this. The writer is correct that the policy speaks to providing safe transit. But the fact that there is no legal opportunity to provide transportation from one location to the other with our current transportation infrastructure means that there is, unfortunately, quite literally, nothing that we can do as the governance entity other than to somewhat reluctantly agree to understand that the operational decision was made the way it was made because it had to be made. I do hope that there is a way for the parents in that community to find a way to transport their children safely to the pickup location. But I know there are many locations around the district where the pickup location is some distance from families' homes down less than walkable roads. And they have to find a way to get their children to the pickup locations. And this set of families has just joined that other set of families that experience this and have for some time. So I wish there were something we can do. I understand that there isn't, but I don't want the moment to pass without saying that we do care, that we do understand, and that we wish there were something that we could do. But it appears that there actually is not. And I regret that. I don't speak for the board, but just personally, I regret that. And I hope that there's a way for the matter to be resolved satisfactorily, knowing that we can't solve it with the bus as historically has happened. It's changed for a reason, and it's a good reason, and it's unfortunate. But I do believe there is nothing for us to do except receive it as correspondence and support the decision of our transportation department and offer our expressions of regret to those families, even though it's not through a board motion.
Thank you for those comments, Trustee Hill. Trustee McMurphy.
I've driven the road, but not recently, not with the perspective of a school bus driving down the road, so I'm not sure my comments will make any sense. But I'm wondering, and improving roads is always an issue because they don't want the road improved, because they don't want the extra traffic, they don't want the faster cars. So it's always a bit of a bone of contention when you start playing with the road, so to speak. But I'm wondering if it might be possible for staff to investigate with the Ministry of Transportation, highways, whatever it would be, if there's some possibility of improving the road in such a way that a bus could safely transit. And first I can say is no, we're not going to investigate and on the other hand, they might be prepared to help us solve a problem. I don't know if the people in the neighborhood want their road improved. As soon as it's improved, then there's more traffic and it's faster traffic and everything else, but it's a legitimate concern I think the parents have about their kids having to walk in a dangerous situation or them having to drive, and driving, of course, increases our demands on the environment and the climate and whatnot, or carbon monoxide, et cetera, in the atmosphere. But I do feel the pain that these people are expressing, she's expressing on behalf of the community, and the worries that they have regarding getting their kids to school. I don't know if it's worth a letter or an inquiry, at least to the Ministry of Transportation. I don't know the names of the ministries. Secretary Treasurer might have some information.
I think it would be the district of Saanich.
District of Saanich.
Yeah.
And I know that at least one council of Saanich has been copied and included in correspondence. But I have no idea if there's any, what the reception is at the municipality.
They might be able to tell us if they have any long-term plans for doing anything.
Are you considering a motion?
Sure, as well as get some information. The staff be requested to contact the District of Saanich regarding possible improvements.
There is a second for that. Second by Trustee Vandal. Anything further in addition? Trustee Hickman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not opposed to this motion, but I'm wondering, is it about fixing the road, or could there be something that we could work with Saanich on to get us a safe turnaround? I think fixing the road might be a bigger issue that isn't going to transform in a timely way.
Fair enough.
So I don't know if that would be an amendment or a separate motion.
No, that would be an amendment.
I think, didn't I just say investigate solutions? So that could be one.
An amendment such as a safe place for us to turn our bus around.
You're making that amendment. Is there a seconder to that amendment? Trustee Silzer. All right. Any discussion on the amendment to add the reference to a safe place to turn the bus around to the motion as an example? Otherwise, I'll call for the vote on the amendment. Is it clear? Do trustees understand it? Fixing the road and solutions, and that's an example, as you articulated it, Trustee Hickman. All right. This is on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? The amendment carries. Back to the main motion as amended then. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Hickman?
Could we get the motion read with the amendment, please?
I think we can.
That staff be directed to contact the District of Saanich to investigate improvements to Prospect Lake Road, such as a safe place.
Are you ready?
I did say requested rather than directed, but I'm happy.
I did. I think staff will respond in any case.
We're pretty responsive no matter what adjective you use or verb.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll vote now on the amended motion. All in favor? Opposed? The motion as amended carries. Thank you, Trustee. Then item 16 is the second opportunity for a questions period from our partners or guests or public, if any. If so, please signify it so I might recognize you. Hello, Megan. Back again.
We have school calendars. I noticed this is really long summer. How often are the summers really long? And are there any extra resources for families in?
Resources for, with respect to,
Keeping your kids home, figuring it out. School is where people get a lot of their supports, their services. food, childcare. Like, is there, like, I don't know how often it happens that the summer is this long, but an extra week makes a big difference for a lot of families. And I don't know, do people talk about that? Do they talk about like, we're gonna need to give this family a little bit more support because it's one more week of being at home?
The only comments, and I'm not really being facetious, that I've heard is, oh, great, we get an extra week. But you raise a good point. I don't know, Superintendent, do you have anything to offer?
Well, the calendar rotates on a 7-year cycle because it's 7 days in the week. And I don't have it memorized as to how many of those 7 are the extra week and how many are shortened by a week. But it does rotate on that calendar schedule because it depends on where Labor Day falls and where the last Friday in June falls. And so there's a mathematical formula there. There aren't additional resources that are provided by province or others in terms of supporting families through the school district during that time period. I do know that some of the money that has been allocated to things like Feeding Futures, I was talking to the district principal in Indigenous education just the other day about some additional resources for families, Indigenous families and community that are being supported through her budget in that way as well too. And I know principals have been working with their school packs and communities around supporting them through either food gift cards or other means, depending on the community needs. One of the things that I am particularly pleased with our administrators is their knowledge of their community and the process they've set up to determine need. And they work with their school packs quite closely to determine how best to support families with limited funds that they have for things like food.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Sir, give us your name if you would.
My name is Stuart McKinnon. I'm a resident of North Saanich. I had the opportunity to listen in online a few times, and now I've come to the board. And I note that some members of the board and staff are much easier to hear than others. And I'm wondering if there could be a review of the amplification of the meetings to make it easier for people to understand what's going on.
Is your comment related to the in-person meeting tonight or the online or both? Both.
All right.
We did reconfigure the boardroom in certain substantive ways not too long ago, but I don't recall if that included audio. What can we say about that, Superintendent?
It's a great point. You'll see the speakers hanging from the light standards above us here, and they are permanently mounted there for ease of use. They were installed a number of years ago. It is a conversation that we've had with our IT department and we'll continue to follow up on. The pickup from them is limited. And so somebody with a booming voice like myself, no problem hearing me even without a microphone in front of me. I understand that, but you're right. There are differences. And when I have beamed in, because I haven't been able to attend the meeting, I experienced the same thing that you are talking about. And so we will continue to follow up with IT to see if there's an option of a different microphone system or what that might be. But the pickup is maximized on these ones. We just have to see if there's a comparable mic that would be better suited for the space. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. McKinnon. Thank you for coming tonight to see if you can hear us in person. If there are no other questions, we'll turn to item 17 on the agenda, which addresses administrative procedures. And I'll ask the superintendent to introduce that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As part of our ongoing review of administrative procedures, the senior team has reviewed an additional 4 procedures and created a new one as well for a total of 5 procedures for your information this evening. These were all, the first 4 were created back in 2020, and they needed some updates because things have changed or there was an opportunity to improve language. AP 260 field trips was rewritten to provide clear language in a number of areas. AP 512 mobile communication devices needed clear language on how staff who were approved for mobile devices could move from a district phone to a personal phone and what that entailed. AP 551 childcare program is updated due to new updated provincial regulations on the requirement of school districts to annually review spaces within elementary schools for potential childcare opportunities. AP 560, student bus transportation services was updated. We felt it was important to provide the fee information that the board recently approved both for next year and for subsequent years, and around what prorating might look like and how that would be calculated. So again, a clarity of language so that people understood what it was. And then AP 564 volunteer drivers was a new admin procedure that the Secretary Treasurer worked on. We have processes in place in all of our schools for approving volunteer drivers, but there were ongoing questions as to what the expectations were for it, and we felt it was appropriate to come with a single unifying admin procedure so that all administrators would be able to follow the same expectations from one school to the next. It is a very extensive admin procedure, and I thank Secretary Treasurer for her work on it, and including a new form that all schools will be using in the school year to approve volunteer drivers for school-based and extracurricular.
Thank you, Superintendent. And contextually, of course, trustees, we recall that these are within the purview of the superintendent. They're not subject to approval by the board, but he is required to advise the board as the superintendent has. And are there any questions or comments with respect to those, Trustee Hickman?
Thank you, Chair. I have a question through you to the superintendent with regards to mobile communication devices. Is there an opportunity for a staff person who needs a school-based device to take over the school device if their personal contract were to come due, and they only wanted to carry a single device?
So the mobile communication devices that we're talking about are cell phones or mobile phones. And so we have employees that will either choose to use their own and receive a monthly stipend, or will choose to use a district phone. For example, this is a district phone. We are part of a TELUS plan, and that plan is reviewed annually. It's a provincial plan, and actually the rates are going down. And so the per phone usage rate is continually getting cheaper, which is a good thing for the district. If somebody wants to move between plans, in their own plan and the school-based plan, there has to be an opportune time to either move into a school-based plan, a district-based plan, or if they want to leave the district-based plan, they have to wait for the anniversary of that plan to come up before they can leave, because it still costs the district money.
Right. So my question then is, if they've got a personal and a district device,
Yes.
and the contract for their personal device was to come up,
Yes.
and they wanted to cancel that, could
Yes.
they then have the school-based one put in their name and become a personal device? Transferred
It will
on?
never be, this is the district phone, it's not a personal phone.
Okay.
So this is owned by the school district. I can't alter it, I can't delete things from it, et cetera. So it's not mine, it's owned by the school district. And so if I was to have a personal cell phone and wanted to get rid of that, I could still keep this, but it remains the district phone.
Okay, thank you.
No. You can see my grandbaby on top of it. I can't put my grandbaby's picture. I've got lots of pictures of my grandbaby.
Sorry, I shouldn't have opened that can of worms. My apologies, Chair.
That's quite all right. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, trustees, with respect to the APs explained by Superintendent Everett? Right, thank you. That takes us to our last item of business, which is the consideration of the draft advocacy plan, which was included in the board package, and I'll ask Secretary Treasurer Reid to address that.
So approval of the advocacy plan is in the board's annual work plan. It's an annual task that occurs in June. And so the draft advocacy plan is included. It's attached to a briefing note, and it is for the board to review and consider approval this evening. So the advocacy plan is consistent with the previous advocacy plan that was in place, except the dates obviously have been changed. We're now looking at a different year ahead of us. And there was also an addition that relates to a motion that was made in November at a special board meeting. And it was a board meeting reviewing, I believe, the OCP of Central Saanich. And at that meeting, there was a motion that reads as following: that the board chair and zonal trustees meet with local municipal partners to discuss the promotion of affordable family housing as it relates to school population, and that such an annual meeting be reflected in the draft advocacy plan that will be next considered by the board in June 2026. And so to reflect that motion, point 5 of the advocacy plan, I've added a sentence at the bottom that says the board chair and zonal trustees will meet with local municipal partners annually to discuss matters relevant to Saanich schools and public education. So, I'll leave it there. Happy to answer questions.
We don't have a motion yet, but we can entertain questions or any discussion about it. Trustee McMurphy.
I had a question. I'm wondering about strategies. It says seek leadership and support from provincial bodies such as trustees, superintendents, school business officials, Confederation of Parents Advisory Councils. I'm wondering about the BC Principals, Vice Principals Association and BC Teachers Federation. I don't know. Was there some?
Would there be any objection to including those in number 3, trustee? I appreciate, Trustee Murphy, the list of partner of educational organizations is immense, but you try to confine it to the principal ones of partnership.
Yes.
Can we agree? Is there any objection? Let me put it this way, trustees. No objection, then we have an amendment to include, was it those two?
BC Principals and Vice Principals Association and BC
PVP, BC PVP and BCTF. All right, done. Thank you for agreeing. Anything else, trustees, on the draft plan before we look to approval? Trustee Elder, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the addition of those two entities. I just note that the groups listed in the advocacy plan are those with which we have direct contact, the provincial organizations, or a natural connection in terms of BC CPAC. And the addition of BC PVPA and BCTF is interesting to me in terms of what, we don't, as a board, normally reach out to those organizations. I mean, I know that we do in various ways, but our plan to reach out to those additional organizations in support of advocacy, I think is, honorable and worthy. I'm just not sure, within which sort of construct we would do that. It's not our normal, line of communication. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm just curious to see how it might play out.
Do you have any examples you might think of, Trustee McMurphy, that
Well,
could be responsible?
in my past roles, I have, but I think the important thing here is we're talking about funding for public education, particularly through a revision of the finance formula that meets actual costs. And I think if there's ever a basis for, coming together as parties to the public education system, certainly those two bodies would have a legitimately strong voice added to all the other groups that are additionally mentioned in the motion. I mean, we're talking about something that everybody has a horse and race kind of thing, so it'd be fair to. I mean, whether it would work or not, I don't know, but I think we're trying. And if we ever were to actually have a delegation that encompassed all those groups arriving on the Minister of Education or the provincial government's doorstep, I think it would be pretty powerful.
Trustee Stelzer, thank you.
Chair. Well, how about, maybe it's slightly, to say seek leadership from the BCP, of BCTF, but we certainly want their support. So we add another sentence to say, and to seek support from BCP, PVP, and BCTF as appropriate. It does say, but then it's linked to seeking leadership as well. So I guess we're not going to add, not going to seek leadership from PVP. All the bodies to provide leadership. Yeah. Well, it's just a suggestion. If it's, maybe trustee Elder has.
Okay. Trustee Elder, your turn.
Thank you, Chair. I like what Trustee Silzer is saying. I think we do seek leadership and support from the first three organizations because we have direct and ongoing connection to those three organizations, especially the BCSTA. I think we seek support from BCCPAC, and I think we would seek support. Like, it could just be leadership and support from 1, 2, 3, and support from the others. And the others would be BCCPAC, BCTF, and BCPVPA. And I would wonder why, if there are others that we would include in that list, FINESC, for example. There are provincial organizations that have substantial, significant voice provincially on matters such as these. And we might, as we add to the list, find others to add to the list. And I think the new board should spend a bit of time wrestling with this question. We're spending a very few minutes wrestling with this question right now. I'd hate to think that we'll add a couple and by, lack of time to kind of really think it through, miss a couple as well. But I would, in the meantime, support having it be leadership and support from the first three and support from BCCPAC, BCTF, and BCPVPA. And at this point, I won't say we should add, any other organization, FINESC, for example, but I think the new board should think about that.
All right. Well, thank you. For clarity, when we collectively work on an amendment here, I think I would appreciate a motion to adopt or approve, and then entertain a specific motion for the changed wording in number 3 and anything else we can do. So we can do with it in this, like, in a clear way. Is there a motion to approve the draft advocacy plan? Trustee Silzer, is there a second? Trustee Van Wel. Now, let's see if there's an amendment, and I'll invite Trustee Elder to offer a specific amendment as was being discussed.
Thank you, Chair. I would move the amendment that strategy 3 be amended to say seek leadership and support from 1, 2, 3. I won't read them all. And support from, I'll just use the acronyms, BCCPAC, BCTF, and BCPVPA.
Is there a seconder for that? Trustee Silzer. It's been discussed, but we have an opportunity for more comment. Trustee Hicks.
Wondering if the wording couldn't be seek leadership and or support, rather than separating the groups out as one being support and leadership and the other one only support. If we put and or, then what we seek would be one or the other or both.
I personally have a bias against that, but it's not my board. And what I'd suggest is, because I don't want to get lost in this, we're going to ultimately vote on the amendment as is, or you can move an amendment before then if you want formally to do that.
I think it would be a friendly amendment.
Well, no, there's no such thing.
Okay, so I would
Tonight we're going to vote.
all right, I would like to amend, says we seek leadership and or support from provincial bodies such as, and then list those out in there as we have. So
BCSTA, BCSSA, BCASBO, BCC PAC, and then adding on for the BC principals, vice principals, and BCTF.
Trustee McMurphy. Seconded by trustee McMurphy. Discussion? Anybody? Trustee McMurphy?
Well, I like this solution because it gives the responding organizations their choice in the sense of, are they willing to provide leadership or just support or both or whatever? I think, I don't want to offend anybody, particularly BCC PAC, by saying, we don't want any leadership from you, we just want your support. I like the way trustee Hickman has suggested an amendment to the motion that leaves it up to the organization's name, whether or not they want to offer leadership and support, or just leadership or just support or whatever. But the idea that we get all our voices together, I think, is the powerful message that we want the government to hear, that we're all together, we're working on this from our various different perspectives, admittedly. But I think if there's leadership from the BCSTA to bring all the recipients of the funding or those who are affected by the funding together with coming close perhaps to one voice, it might not be possible, but it's something that we should try to achieve in terms of trying to influence government spending.
Trustee Silzer and then trustee Elder. On the amendment.
Well, I'm persuaded by trustee McMurphy's approach to say that and I do support the amendment, proposed amendment, to seek leadership and or support from provincial bodies, and we keep in mind that the words such as leaves the categories open. Right, so if we just leave it the way it is and say, and the BCC PAC and BCTF, it's still open with those words such as to include anybody else who's going to support one unified voice for what we're advocating.
Trustee Elder, please.
Thank you, Chair. My amendment is still on the floor. Are we voting on an amendment to the amendment?
It may just security alert. I don't know what's
Checking to see if we were awake. I think so.
That's what it was.
Everybody's awake now?
Yeah.
Trustee Elder.
It wasn't me, I was just working in my office.
Trustee Elder, I anticipated that this amendment would be an amendment to your amendment. But I too am now wondering if it's sequential. And I'm getting confused.
So much. Yeah.
All right, so I'm told by the Secretary Treasurer that in fact it is an amendment to your amendment.
Thank you. And I note that
Yes. Pardon?
I note that the moment I said amendment to an amendment, an alarm sounded.
Policy 9 says we can have any more. So
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the advice, Secretary Treasurer. It is an amendment to Trustee Elder's amendment. And perhaps this would be a good time if we learned what it was again. Are you able to help us, Ms. Glancy? I need to put you on the spot.
That strategy number 3 be amended to read seek leadership and or support from provincial bodies such as, can I just do the acronyms?
Yes.
BCSTA, BCSSA, BCASBO, BCC PAC, BCTF, and BCPDPA.
All right.
Yes.
All right, are we prepared now and ready to vote on the amendment to trustee Elder's proposed amendment? Then we'll return to that. All in favor on that second amendment? Opposed? That's carried. Now we'll go to trustee Elder's amendment. Which is which amendment?
You said
Trustee Elder's amendment amended to be this
Yes.
amendment, so you have to vote on it for the minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we'll go to trustee Elder's amendment as amended.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any more amendments, trustee Elder? All right, we're back to the main motion to approve the draft advocacy plan, including strategy 3 as amended just now. Any other suggestions or changes?
I'm not allowed to say anything, right?
You know what? It's late in the day, Megan. Why not?
I listened to all your amendments and amendments. I'll just mention, it's come across my desk recently, Generations. Look it up. Human Early Learning Partnership, it has analyzed our budget according to what we spend on elder care versus children. And we spend far more on medical care than we do on child care and education. So if we could have more funding range towards our kids, we could potentially not have to worry about the funding for it. So check it out, Generation.
Thank you.
Now I'm worried because I'm just voting.
I know it well. It's I follow that argument. All right. Shall we call the question? Or not call the question, put the question on the draft advocacy plan as amended in strategy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a carried. We now have an advocacy plan. It is no longer draft, but it is changed. We have that. Superintendent.
I was remiss in not acknowledging some extraordinary work on one of the APs. I do want to talk, I just want to mention that Assistant Superintendent Bass spent close to a year revising the field trip admin procedure. It was a lot of work. And while the other ones did take some time, nothing compared to the amount of time needed to revise the field trip piece. I just wanted to pass along my thanks publicly.
Thank you.
And if I may, through the chair, then also acknowledge the admin team that was there for the drafts and the review of Mary Kircher, Cal Russell, Kristen Warren, Ryan Ellis, Wendy Laws, and Ryan Braun, all of which who approve field trips quite often, and therefore they are a great resource to be able to bounce ideas off of and look at the language within this. And of course, Shannon Davies, who would think that I would be done, and then I would read it through again and come back with a whole bunch more to get this to a place. And then, of course, Lee Blatzy to get all our numbering and everything correctly. And continued work now of developing a workflow for all of the forms that come along with this that will just be revised. So thank you for the acknowledgement. But I just wanted to make sure I also acknowledge the rest of our team who did it.
Thank you. Trustee Silva.
Chair, I have a motion to make
Yes.
with regard to our advocacy plan, not on the plan itself, but to propose that the board make a written submission to the BC Government Finance Committee 2027 budget consultation to advocate that the Ministry of Education and Child Care K-12 operating funding be adjusted annually to fully fund school district inflationary costs.
Seconded. Trustee Hickman. Trustee Silva.
Now, the BCSTA has already made presentations to the Finance Committee on the 2027 budget, and they covered this aspect. But I think as a school board, ourselves, we can do our advocacy plan by making our own submission. And only written submissions are permitted at this time, and the deadline is in 2 days. Perhaps the Secretary Treasurer can advise whether this is possible for staff to accomplish in 2 days.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, yes, it is.
No other questions? Trustee Elder?
I'm sorry, you're looking for a seconder or do you have one?
Trustee Hickman seconded that. We're in the debate stage, if any.
I wonder if it would be friendly to the mover to add reference to the BC ASBO document that speaks so clearly to this issue.
Sure, yeah. So we could add at the end with reference to the BC ASBO.
There's a title, is there not?
Document on, what's the title of the document?
Just give me a moment, I'll look it up.
Yes. Thank you.
The title is Responsiveness of Provincial Funding to Cost Pressures in BC School Districts.
Okay, we would add that to the motion. I would agree to that.
So you're proposing that we add that reference to the end of your motion? Thank you, Trustee Elder. Is there any objection to that, trustees? Everybody seems agreeable. And so that will be done. Thank you, Trustee Elder. We'll add that to the motion. Anything else? Are you ready for the question on the motion as amended? By consent, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Well, according to my agenda, we're complete, but I'm never certain. So is there any objection to adjourning? Trustee Elder?
I just want to thank the board and all gathered for indulging me in coming in remotely tonight. It was unavoidable. And also to thank Trustee Hickman for delivering our finance reports tonight.
And thank you for coming regardless, even virtually, and contributing as ever, Trustee Elder. And thank all of you, and thank partners and guests. And I'll repeat, I wish you all happy, relaxing summer. Who am I pointing at? You're pointing. Oh, you're just disruptive.
I'm just trying to put Tommy that way.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Happy summer, everybody.
So,